nothing stokes me out more than someone coming to know how good they're meant to feel, and and to get there, it's a little uncomfortable. Like, change is tough, and adjusting your habits is tough, and adjusting your lifestyle is tough. But gosh, the fruits of that, man.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Allsmith, where we carve wisdom from life's hardest reps and design a lifestyle forged in true fire. Today's guest is a man who doesn't just lift heavy, he lifts people, he lifts perspectives, and he lifts the edges of what's fucking possible. My man, good friend, Mr. Sam Dancer. Welcome to the show, man.
Old friend, old buddies. I think we got ourselves I think we're coming up on a decade, I think.
Yeah, man. And it's something that stands out to me a lot. Like you're a thinker, you're a feeler, you're so much more than the label and the identity that the world kind of knows you as, like the strong guy in CrossFit. It's like, no. Sam's a fucking vibe.
Yeah, and you know what? There's only so much I could do to combat that. It's just this is how I look. I've tried to tone it down over the years a little bit to try to make myself maybe a little bit more modestly appearing, so that I don't maybe get as much of the preconceived kind of judgments that come along with looking like a freaking gorilla. But thank you, Bryce. I'm honored to hear that from you. I definitely work to embody those things and not just be some meathead.
Totally. I'm excited to connect with you today, man. It's one of those things that's been on my radar for a long time. We've tried a few times. We've both been busy. Life has happened. But more importantly, man, you're a loving, soulful, deeply connective human. And something about that really stands out to me around the fact that you've overcome adversity and you create a safe space for others. You listen, you seek to understand, and you're explorative in your approach. You're not these are the facts, this is the answer kind of guy. You're like, okay, I'm gathering this information. I'm going to take that information and I'm going to put it to use, and I'm going to seek those edges. Let's play. And what I love about that is the fact that you're open-minded. And what I'm curious about, Sam, is how have you integrated that in a world full of opinions? Everybody and their mom has a podcast. How have you integrated the ability to remain open-minded despite all of the crazy inputs?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know that I would really consider myself like super open-minded. I would consider myself very accepting. I definitely will go out of my way to meet people where they're at. And in regards to, that the open-mindedness, um, I like I said, I wouldn't really consider myself that. I'm pretty firm in my values, firm in my beliefs, firm in a lot of things. Not that I couldn't be, um, you know, I would consider myself a truth seeker, um, and that can be a tough thing to come encounter with, especially in today's age where there's just so much information and just it's tough to tell these days what's real. Um, but yeah, it's really really important to me, especially with just some of the work that we do, like in our gym and whatnot, and just even considering who I've been over the years. Like I'm not entirely the same person today that I was, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and I definitely have I feel like I have a good bit of compassion and empathy for other people because I can see parts of myself in them, and that makes me just like a little bit more of accepting of where people are at, and like I said, making sure that I'm going out of my way to meet people where they're at. And to I guess what specifically was your question again in regards to the open-mindedness and whatnot? Maybe where does that come from? Was it essentially?
My big thing when I observe Sam is that you're incredibly patient, which I appreciate. You press pause when people communicate. You don't feel the need to like word vomit, and you kind of think things through. The only other person that I see really do that is Jordan Peterson. He really admires the pause in between phrases or words or things like that. And even though you are convicted and you're strong in your values, what I like is that you practice the art of true and pure listening. And then as a byproduct, you're able to take in all of the input from the communicator and then provide, hey, here are my thoughts, here are my opinions, here are my suggestions based on my personal experience and the knowledge that I have up until this point. But I feel like your communication strategy back is always this beautiful, artistic, suggestive approach, as opposed to like word vomiting, like you should do this. You're like, no, I think you should do this, maybe based on certain experiences. And then as a byproduct, from my observation, it's always very well received. I mean, our friends in the CrossFit space, they're fucking smart. They have a world of knowledge and they have a reservoir of access to people. And you seemingly have a really unique ability to penetrate the minds and the energy and the experiences of these people that are already very successful. And I think that's because your communication strategy is suggestive and you're tinkering within the Sam Dancer lab of like, okay, this is good, but let's find optimal.
Yeah, I definitely have to give old Jano Dream Big, my wife, a little tip of the hat in that area because when she met me, um, I I don't know. I wasn't a great communicator. Um, I didn't speak really. I spent, gosh, a few years getting pretty viciously bullied like and just got to a point where I didn't I didn't want to engage anyone for the fear that I could be hurt, and that kind of made me go a little inside and be a little reclusive. And Jenny's really helped kind of pull that out of me a little bit, and you know her well enough that she could talk to anybody. I literally will hear this woman 2 aisles over in the grocery store talking to someone about, like, it sounds like old friend that she hasn't spoke with in years, and then you get over there and you're like, who's this person? You're like, oh, I don't know, who is this person? Like, there's the introduction, it happens right there, we just met. um, I'm not to that degree, but yeah, I definitely, yeah, I like to be patient and take my time about what I'm going to say. And let me be clear on this too. I tell Jenny this all the time. My first thought is I wouldn't consider it a pure righteous way of thinking or behaving. So it almost takes like a full inhale and an exhale for me to be able to um, put something together that is received in a way that is, I guess, just receptive. A lot of times my first thought is kind of mean or kind of snappy or um, yeah, or rude even. But I have definitely, and that's probably more so from the things that I went through at an early age that kept me from even wanting to speak. and then getting mixed in with Jenny's over communication and kind of meshing those together, and just yeah, learning to be patient and take my time before I speak, and to be okay and not embarrassed with sitting there in silence briefly as you put things together in a way that um, ultimately helps people relate to you. I'm sure you're familiar with like the Enneagram and stuff like that. I think those are really powerful tools to help people learn how you see the world and how you receive the world, but also that there's other ways that people see and receive. Um, and Yeah, I appreciate that, Bryce. That's really sweet of you, man. It's definitely something I feel like I'm still kind of working on, but it's always nice to be acknowledged for things like that.
It's a very cool observation, and honestly, in a world of like immediate gratification, it's beautiful to see someone younger getting after it that practices the art of delayed gratification and understands the famous John Wooden quote of "Be quick but not in a hurry." And I think you know that better than most. Like, think about a rowing machine. You're one of the best rowers in the game. If your stroke rate is so high, the epitome of that is like not really digging your oar into the ground and you're just kind of like skirting the surface level of the water. You're not really going to go anywhere. But if you dig that oar in, get some depth into the water and get these strong monumental pulls, it might take a beat longer, but you're gonna get more work done in a faster amount of time. It's gonna be more efficient. And I think you epitomize the transferability of that skill into human connection. And I think it's really beautiful, and it's made me a huge admirer of yours. And I was really thinking last night, Sam, like I was taking the dogs for a late night walk, and I was like, I could talk to Sam about CrossFit. I could talk to him about all the different beach workouts we've done and the amazing Murphs and the depth of conversation and the really, really delicious burgers from Boney's in Coronado and freaking concerts in the park, which is coming up soon. And I like wish one day I could just fly you and Jenny and Star out for concerts in the park because it's that freaking cool. But I just got to thinking, I was like, God damn, Sam is unapologetically himself. He operates at the beat of his own drum. I mean, we've done workouts where, I emulated you and just like stripped down to my boxers doing burpees in front of the police station and skied. And like CJ and everybody from Invictus came out and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I just wanted the Sam Dancer experience. Like, I just don't care." And the quote that came to mind, dude, is, I feel like that you'd rather be judged for who you am or for who you are than applauded for who you're not. And I think something about that is really beautiful. And I'm curious what comes to mind for you when I kind of mention that unapologetic authenticity that you operate with.
Oh man, I think I think being blind kind of helps. um, I would love if I had you know this is what I do and what I've done to be able to live like that, to live authentically, or to not be ashamed or anything of who I am. But honestly, not being able to see has it kind of you feel like no one's watching you, even though they are. And it's always so funny, especially when I'm like, if I'm like super peeled out and really tan, my legs are jacked and I'm all super fit, and I'm wearing minimal clothes. And again, I'm not really paying attention to anyone because I can't really see anyway. But walking with a group of people, or like being with my wife or something like that, and she's just always laughing so much. She's like, it is absurd walking around with you somewhere, especially if I'm like, again, if I'm I got freaking veins and muscles popping out everywhere, and I'm super tan and wearing 3-inch inseam shorts. But yeah, man, having poor vision is definitely created this little like kind of comfort bubble for me, where I'm not so concerned with with the fact that someone's maybe looking at me funny, um, or for that matter, thinking I'm odd or something like that. Um, but
Like your perception of reality gets to live unapologetically in between your ears. There's not as much infiltration from the external, which means that you're validated from your heart, your soul, your actions, and from energy rather than what the world may consider triggers, which I think is so cool because it allows you to be here now, like the extreme presence that most people are missing because it's like squirrel syndrome when dogs are like squirrel, 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 you know? Who are you when the lights are off and the barbell's put down? Everybody knows you as the strong guy. Everybody knows you as the CrossFit legend from the 2014 second place finishing CrossFit Conjugate. When the barbell's gone, who's Sam?
When the barbell's gone, man, that I had a pretty cool encounter with this, when I finished football. Honestly, my whole life I was a football player. Defined myself as that. I'd probably even introduce myself, as crazy as that sounds, is that's kind of who I am and what I do. And went through. I wouldn't. It wasn't like existential and wasn't like a huge crisis, but finally, for once in my life, wrestled with the question of, who am I? What is my identity? And as a young man, I had pretty much only ever defined myself as a football player. So, quickly wanted to start kind of going to work on that and figuring out, little things of like, who am I? What do I want to do? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Like, and was also running pretty lean at the time in regards to like my social equity. I didn't have many friends. And that was a little bit was kind of purposeful. As I had mentioned, just like getting bullied and stuff, I was just kind of over people and didn't really want to put myself in a position where I could get hurt. Um, but and fortunately, at the time I had a wonderful friend named Jason Brown, who was the manager of the at this rental joint that I was working at, renting out like construction equipment. And I'd lost my father, and that would probably be like the type of person who would really help you kind of help guide you in the discovery of yourself. But I didn't have that, and I had Jason Brown, awesome dude, and he asked those questions, and I'd never even like really thought of those questions too much. It seemed like such a novel thing to even consider. And I was like, man, like these are good. These are deep. um, but I feel like I've done a good job at ensuring that my entire identity isn't it tied up and into my fitness persona, if you will. Not that they're necessarily entirely separate, but I say it like that because I feel like there's definitely an identity that's imprinted onto you from the outside. um, and that's cool too. Like you'd brought up, I don't mind being the big strong guy, and the guy who deadlifted the heavy barbell at the games, and that's what people think of when they think of me and whatnot. But um, gosh, there's so many things. The low hanging fruit is a husband, is a father, is a business owner, is a director of a non for profit, a co-owner of a coffee company. Those are all pretty easy ones. Um, but yeah, if I really get to the guts of it all, um, I I would like to think of myself as um, a a fun loving person who lives with zeal and joy and compassion. Um, yeah, I who who am I when the barbell's gone? Um, I'm still me, baby. Um, but gosh, I don't know. It's kind of weird to, I don't know, define myself um, again outside of the persona that's kind of imprinted onto you without sounding um, maybe too wishful or arrogant. Um, but I
The barbell is a part of your story. And hopefully it's there for the entirety of your story, right? That's the goal with all of this is, our good friend Matt Bickle always loves to say, aging gracefully. And I think what's cool about that is just this idea that we're progressively moving the needle in the right direction. And when we're accumulating more identities as we go, you're all of those things and you're none of those things at the same time. Because at the end of the day, you're Sam. You're not CrossFit athlete. You're not just husband. You're not just father. You're you. And all of those things
Sam
kind
I
of
am,
get
baby.
like sticky to you over the course of time, right? And it's funny to think about for sure.
But gosh, that's I wish Jenny was here. It would I feel like it would be a little bit easier access to define that without me getting in the way of again feeling like I'm presenting wishful thoughts of who I am. Hey, back to like the Enneagram test. Again, don't know if you've ever done one, but like sometimes I feel like the results you can get are radically different when you take the test or when you take the test with someone else. Because a lot of times we have these ideas of it's more so of who we want to be or even I guess who you think you are. But if you haven't taken like a truly an honest look at like your blind spots, and that's another thing I love about fitness that is like boiled over into my actual life. With the pursuit of sport, you're constantly looking at and diagnosing the things that you suck at. So I feel like I've done a relatively good job at that in sport, at, finding out what you're not good at and working hard at it to so that you can raise the needle and move the needle. And I truly believe that if you want to hit like your your peak ability even in sport, that there is a mental and spiritual component to that. So you have to actually like take uh, a look at yourself and your mindset and your spirit and how you handle things emotionally and 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 go to work on those things so that they don't get in the way of how you perform. So um, yeah, man, if that kind of makes sense, but
I love the way you
yeah.
said that though, just because you are such an artistic and a spiritual man. I really do believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And to be totally transparent with you, my relationship with God and with spirit is just it's just different than most. It's very open. And my father was a son of a priest. And so as a young child, he saw some hypocrisy rather, I'm sorry, from his father, my grandfather, and he said, I'm going to give you, your brother, and your sister a Bible. If you guys have any questions, I'll answer them. You guys are welcome to go with your friends. I'm not going to mandate that our family goes to church, but do the right thing when nobody's watching. Put your grocery cart away. Be kind to your neighbor. And if you have any questions, like, let me know. He didn't like force feed anything down our throats, but he was very open to us exploring and kind of figuring out our own relationship with God and spirits and this word religion. And some of the first times as an adult going to church were with you and Jenny. And I know you've shared with me a couple times. How did you find the Holy Spirit?
The Trident family taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good, bad, and everything in between. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. I start my day with the Sweet Cream Cold Brew as I am prepping my mind and body for fitness, service, coaching, and podcasting. With various locations in San Diego, they offer over 14 nitro cold brews and a variety of specialty drinks. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from the Keto Bakery. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code ALLSMITH to take your coffee experience to the next level.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you asked that, Bryce. Um, because it's quite a wonderful and radical story. Um, it's pretty far out, honestly. It's very far out. It's very weird. Um, but yeah, this this couldn't be a topic or subject that would stoke me up any more than anything else. Like this is what I like. Sometimes with any conversation I'm having, like the longer the conversation goes without getting to talk about the Holy Spirit or to talk about it really, I guess it could be a little bit more broad than just the Holy Spirit, but I love the depth and discovery of of studying theology. But relative to your question, this is so much fun. So about 13 years ago, I was out on a run, and I'd been fasting for a few days. I bring that up because I kind of suspect it might have something to do with it. I don't know. I can't prove that whether or not this experience was going to happen regardless of what I was doing. But I was out running, and that's the fasting was for no spiritual reasons. I wasn't raised in anything. Um, so yeah, there was no spiritual purposes. That I was just trying to like clean my guts up. Um, so out running, and it feels like I got pushed, and even to the point where like as I'm falling, I'm looking back behind me to see who pushed me. Um, and I was stuck in all fours on the ground. So in a quadrupedal position, in this like full body cramp, but it wasn't painful. If you've had a full body cramp, you know they're quite terrifying and painful. And my jaw was forced open, and there is this. Gets far out. This rainbow light tube that is penetrating my mouth, going through my body, and anchored to like my crotch. Um, and once it had like attached to me, I could see through my hands, my arms. I could see my veins, my muscles, my nervous system, my bones. Um, and then I started to receive these visions, straight up visions, and clear as day. They were more real than reality itself. The way I always explain it, it's like watching TV on a brand new Samsung 1080p 4K yada yada all that stuff, um, versus a projection TV from like the 90s or something like that. Like the quality of the imagery is that stark, is that different. Um, and the visions I was receiving were, and they all happened identically to how they actually happened in real physical reality. But in no particular order, I was shown myself getting baptized by my friend David. David was a roommate of mine and a dear friend of mine, still is to this day, from college. And David asked me to go to church with him every Sunday for 5 years. I respectfully declined, unless there was maybe like some food or something involved. I might go to like some church event with him, but I would say 95% of the time, maybe even a little bit more, it was always just like, no, thanks, man. I appreciate the invite, though. Um, and then I saw myself getting married to a woman I didn't know. And I was also revealed this building that's in my hometown, which I thought was a college at the time. I thought, I was like, oh man, am I supposed to like go back to school? And not only am I receiving these visions, but they're also being like narrated to me. So I'm straight up being told like what's happening in this scene, and what it is that I need to like do to get there. And not only is it, I guess, being narrated, but I can also speak with it. Um, and in this instance, and that's like I'm giving you like 30% of the story, or else we'd be talking about it the entire time. Um, and in this encounter, I don't know what's going on. I I like the person of Jesus is not like being revealed to me, and I don't see a body or a person speaking. And to be quite honest, I've always kind of been into like aliens and stuff. I enjoy a good conspiracy theory. Let me just say that. I don't buy into it all. I love just talking about weird stuff. Um, and while I'm having this like encounter, I'm like, am I being abducted by aliens? And then another thought was, am I going insane? Am I is my psyche just being broken to pieces, and am I just losing my mind? Um, so those thoughts definitely went through my head, and after further, and I don't think I clarified, the building that I was instructed to go to was a church. I had never like willingly ever been to church before, so I was kind of weirded out by that too. And this church, and this is an important part, was illuminated with this like golden fog, this golden hue. Um, and I end up going to the church, and we'll get into that here in a second. But I will fast forward a little bit to the second encounter that I had, which was once I got to the church. And again, we can talk more about that. But I have another one of these encounters, and it just feels like the air is sucked out of the room, and feels like you almost get punched in the guts. And I received clear as day, audibly, um, in essence, your wife is on her way. Um, and uh, it was like, yeah, it was like getting an Amazon package delivery notification on your phone or something like that. Um, and I wasn't like on the hunt after that by any means. It was still wild and profound, but I kind of like got back to my day. Um, Shortly after, um, I get a phone call from a friend of a friend. He's a good acquaintance of mine, and he tells me that a friend of his is coming back into town from Sweden in between soccer seasons to uh, see her parents and enjoy a little off season. And at the time, I was training a professional football player, and he was like, "I just think she would be a good fit for the training that you're doing." Called her up, told her what time we meet at the gym, got it all dialed in. I head to the gym to go meet up with her, and I'm looking around, looking for a pro soccer player, and gosh dang, there's a girl, and I can see her from like a rear quarter view, and even if it wasn't like this, I still would have known who it was from the vision. But she was encased, no kidding, encased in the same golden like hue, the same golden highlight that like path to the church um, was illuminated. So pretty wild stuff, and it took it took a while for me, uh, more or less through church and some of my own studies, to figure out. I wanted to know for the longest time, like, what the hell happened to me? What was that? And it was the Holy Spirit, and I know that too because it it glorified Jesus, and it glorified Jesus through the church. It glorified Jesus through marriage, and it glorified Jesus through the baptism. Which, and like I said, took me a while to come to that knowledge and understanding. With especially with like evangelical churches today, um, you're you're honestly really only getting like, I don't know, just you're getting very low hanging fruit, and it's good stuff for, especially for like a seeker or a new believer. It's good information, but there's not a lot of depth to it, and the questions I had were deep questions that no one really had any answers for me, and in most cases, anytime I sought out answers through anyone involved with the church, it and I hate saying this because I love my church. I was either I was made to feel um, like a crazy person, or that that's not how the Holy Spirit operates, or just left with kind of with nothingness. Um, but yeah, man, that was my first encounter with the Holy Spirit, and I feel so blessed and fortunate. I don't know how to. It's not like an on-demand thing, but I've had a handful of encounters with the Holy Spirit, and both audibly and visually, um, and it's presented itself to me in this like rainbow light rod kind of formation. It's kind of hard to understand, but it's always presented itself to me as this like as like this long nipple. That's the best way I have to describe it. But like, imagine like a breast, and how there's the nipple. All right, but just imagine instead of the boob going into the body, it ends up just turning back around and enveloping everything. So it's like holy crap, this Holy Spirit is like, it's everything, but it comes out to like a point and a tip. At least that's how it's like it's kind of revealed itself to me. And sometimes I wonder, Bryce, like, if you know how some people have like natural abilities with, for you, maybe like basketball. I'm sure you worked very hard at basketball. But some people maybe like picking up a language, picking up an instrument, um, art, poetry. That it definitely seems that some people have like these natural gifts. And I'm not saying I have a gift. I do believe I have received a gift from the Holy Spirit with in regards to faith, but I don't. I'm not so sure that this is a gift, but oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I definitely just don't want to make it seem like I'm something special in this area. Um, but I sometimes wonder if I have that um, with the this the spiritual aspect of our nature, the spirit world, if you will. Um, I almost think like the veil is a little thinned out for me, because even growing up, I would have these really wild paranormal encounters. I've probably had 10 plus paranormal encounters where I'm talking about like audible voices, seeing like actual people. One of my favorite like ghost stories to tell is Over there. That's my house that I grew up in. My brother lives there now, but I went into that house. I was probably 18 years old, looking for my mom. Um, can't find her anywhere. Go upstairs, and I find her in the kitchen, and I was like, "Hey, mom," and she just kept walking into the next room, and I was like, "Hey, mom," and she keeps walking into the next room. I'm like laughing that she's like clearly ignoring me, and walks into the next room and grabs a door and hides behind it like a little kid would. Um, I'm straight up laughing out loud at this. I'm like, what are you doing? This is so odd for my mom to be doing something like this. And I go move the door, like, gotcha. And no one was there. And hair stood up on my neck, so freaked out, ran downstairs, and my mom was in the kitchen downstairs. That's a wild one. I've had some really weird. It's what I would call my UFO experience. Some really odd encounters with five orbs while I was in college, and these are all sober encounters. I'm not under the influence of anything. I'm not intoxicated. Um, I'm pretty clean living. Um, so it just leads me to kind of suspect that I don't know, there might be some natural, natural tendencies or natural, um I don't want to say the word gifts, maybe they are though. I find it odd that it doesn't. And I also heard this recently. I heard that 90% of people have had paranormal and or mystical encounters, however you want to frame that up. But only 10% of them feel comfortable or confident talking about it. And I get that too, because if I've definitely shared this stuff with people that, and then they look at me like I'm a crazy man. Um, and I might be a little crazy, but I don't think it's like that for me. Um, I, I feel fairly normal. I feel like my brains work reasonably well and my heart works reasonably well, and I don't mean anything.
Like you just said it. What makes Sam different is the willingness to communicate and be a part of the 10%. And I would even say that percentage is probably even smaller. And what's that famous Helen Keller quote? I'm probably bastardizing it, but like, what's worse than having no sight is having no vision. And I think a part of that is like really being curious, right? Ted Lasso says that, be more curious than judgmental. And like, you're not just looking with eyes, because your eyes are now limited. That tool has been like subtly taken away a little bit from you. So you're looking with, what do I feel? What's the energy? What are the shapes? What's the texture? What's the environment? What's the sound? What is the harmoniousness and how this fits with the pattern recognition of what I'm used to? What's the flavor? What's the temperature? There's so many different other things, and like we have our 5 or 6 senses, but that's what I think is really interesting about you, Sam, is that like we talk about UFOs and it's like we talk about ghosts, we talk about energies, and the world views those things as conspiracies because they don't align with their senses. But what if there's more existing that doesn't meet the eye, that some people that are subtly a little bit more curious pay attention to? And I happened to meet you around the time when I lost both parents, and I remember going through this sad victim mentality, whatever you want to call it, of like, oh man, I just wish I could call them and ask them for advice or have that conversation or whatever. And then when I got out of that fog and started thinking, oh wow, like there's butterflies around all the time. There's hummingbirds that are coming around all the time. They're communicating to me, but I wasn't looking for it before. I was wearing these glasses that were like fogged up and colored, and I couldn't see things. And it wasn't until I started to spend more time with you. We went on our famous late night beach run.
Heck yeah, buddy.
Yeah, dude. What that did for me, Sam, was it took this little brush and cleaned up the glasses that I was wearing and said, hey, man, you're only seeing things through this lens. You can wear whatever glasses you want. You can actually observe the world and see things in different ways. You don't have to be fogged by traumatic experiences or whatever you know up until this point. The world is your canvas. And that's why I love the artistic ideology that you operate with is like, I know you're convicted in your values. That's not really what I meant by the open-mindedness. The open-mindedness is you do, which is one of our slogans with Allsmith. I call it playful perspective architecture. And all that is when you go for a beach run, don't just think about your time and your intervals. Feel the sand between your feet. Watch the birds. Observe the kids running. Think bigger than just this and realize how much is going on around us that can infiltrate our headspace and the tangibility of our experience.
Bryce, I'm so pleased to hear that that had such a profound effect on you. Um, and and I wish everyone could have that experience. Because like you said, it definitely it does it like it just changes. Yeah, just once you, gosh, how do you even frame that up, man? It, because I've definitely been there. I've been in places where I've been sad, or maybe even a little depressed or angry, and it like and and when you're sad or depressed, things seem like they literally seem like they look muted and kind of gray. And even for me, if I'm like really angry, like almost things seem red. Um and and when you see that way for an extended period of time, it becomes like a just kind of, you get used to it. You just get, it just becomes normal. And and it's so nice to just have that easy button to peel that away, and like and have it revealed to you how colorful everything is, and how just even the most simple things like the sand, it's so beautiful. And man, it just, that really warms my heart, Bryce, to hear, to have you bring that up and to hear that. um well, gosh, I don't know how many. I think what did we got out there at like right at sunset, and probably ran for 3 or 4 hours. I think I ran like 17 miles or something like that, but at a very, very slow pace. But you get into this like really awesome flow state, where I don't know, man, you kind of you get out of your own way. Gosh, that makes me so happy, Bryce, that yeah, that was an awesome moment for you, because it surely is for me. Um, there's something special about that beach, and when you throw in, some, I think exercise does something too, man. I really do. I think there must be some sort of chemicals or drugs or whatever that get produced in your system. And I think when you get the body like functioning in this repetitive manner, it kind of like induces this like almost like meditative state. And yeah, I feel like we're, for a listener, they're probably like, "What the heck are you guys talking about?" Or like, it's yeah, it's hard to explain though. But I wish that like that nighttime running experience, um is something I wish like I could I could put it in a little dropper and give it to everyone. So
Dude, we're watching RFK and some of the Make America Healthy Again, some of the reforms that are going on politically right now, and it's like Ozempic's taken off because it has this ideology of like, hey, if you take this thing, you're going to lose weight, you're going to look and feel the way you want. It's a great marketing tool, and it may work for some people, but then it comes with this onslaught of side effects and things that are potentially dangerous. If you could take what exercise and human connection and connecting with nature does for the heart, the soul, the well-being, and the mind, and put that into a pill, you couldn't keep that on the shelf, dude. Like you're not just a billionaire. You're like whatever is above a trillionaire. And the thing that's beautiful about it is you have to be willing to be an active participant. And that's not always easy. It requires time. It requires patience. It requires doing hard things. It requires having the hard conversation. And it requires discomfort. And, somebody who Michael Easter, who wrote the Comfort Crisis, we're in that right now. Hey, how do I just like maximize comfort and short-term gratification? But it's like that leads to hell's waiting room. If you're willing to enroll yourself in the process and put yourself out there, you might fail a few times, but you're going to learn. And it's going to be fertilizer that kind of helps you maybe get a little bit of a sprout here. And then that sprout grows into something else. And then that grows eventually into something beautiful. And you know this, like the lotus flower that grows from shit. Like the bamboo plant that it's planted. And it takes 5 years for a bamboo to even like show anything. It's like underground. It's like, dude, just be married to the process and divorced from the outcome. Just keep going.
Yeah, man. I wish, gosh, I wish there was even a pill for it. I wish that people could just brush up against it and feel it and just understand how good they're meant to feel. It's like literally, besides talking about like the Holy Spirit and whatnot, like nothing stokes me out more than someone coming to know how good they're meant to feel, and and to get there, it's a little uncomfortable. Like change is tough, and adjusting your habits is tough, and adjusting your lifestyle is tough. But gosh, the fruits of that, man. Um, Oh, I wish I've always kind of had this like analogy um with like bicycles. Like if everyone was a bicycle, or had a bicycle for that matter. Um, I just wish that everyone's bike had, the tires aired up and the chain lubed. I don't care that you have a mountain bike or a beach cruiser or a tricycle, whatever. I just want everyone to 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 feel the fruits and freedom of having, an operable machine that allows them to get places and get there, um, and enjoy the journey getting there. And if you're, if you got flats or your chain's all rusty or whatever, it's like it's not good. It's the journey's gonna be tough. It's gonna be difficult, and yeah, man, I I hope if there's one thing that your show has been inspiring people uh, with, it's that, man, that like there's like come to know how good you're meant to feel, man. There's like take that leap, buddy. Like start chipping away at it and making small adjustments over time and and enjoy that, dude. Like we all got a body, man. Might as well take care of it and nurture it and find out how to treat it well, because man, when that thing's working well and you're taking good care of it, like life is such a treat, even the seemingly difficult times too. um it's gosh, I wish that was a pill, Bryce. I really do. I seriously do even wish that there was an easy pill, even coming from my hard ass, that like you gotta work hard and you gotta train hard and you gotta, everything's gotta be perfect and dialed in. I just really wish there was a pill so people could just have the experience and have the blinders taken off and realize like, oh snap, like this exists, like this I can actually feel this way and think this way and see this way. um
You know what I think the pill is? I think it's truly listening. It's not a ingestible through the mouth that goes through the digestive system. It's listening to podcasts like this where we're just creating awareness and sharing experiences. And I think as a byproduct, if people listen and they're not just like, oh, that's cool, Bryce and Sam have a history and experience, cool. They're like, no, 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 no. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. What lesson do I continually keep learning? Where is the Holy Spirit trying to push me or trying to pull me back from? Or what is it trying to teach me? And then based on those experiences, being open to, like you said, taking the leap. Because if we always do what we've always done, we'll always be what we've always been. And you've probably heard of this before. I think we've chatted about this briefly, but it's called the region beta paradox, which is the land of comfortable complacency. People have this in probably two different places primarily, and that's within jobs and within relationships. It's, I make enough money. I sort of have health insurance. I kind of do what I love. It is what it is. It's kind of this mediocre whatever. And people are in relationships. They're like, yeah, that friend's sort of cool. Sometimes I like doing that thing. Or, yeah, this is just the way it is. Like, I love this person, but like, they don't really light my heart on fire. It doesn't do the thing for me, but, I'm just going to settle because, it's what I'm meant for. But in reality, that's like you described in the color scheme, like that's kind of mediocrity gray. It's like if you want vibrance and fruitful and euphoria, it's like you have to have some sort of risk tolerance because everything in this life costs something. And so I think the magical pill is listening to things, creating awareness, and then thinking to yourself, like, is my life aligning with this painted picture of what I really want? And if it's not, then we have to be willing to take the change. And in the midst of change comes fear, uncertainty, doubt, chaos. We don't necessarily always have a rhyme or a rhythm as to how to get to that thing, but we know that the land of comfortable complacency is not where we're most really supposed to be.
Yeah, man. Still wish there was a pill though, a real pill. I would love. I just like I said, I nothing excites me more, man, than people. I just had this guy join my gym 2 days ago. Haj, dude barely speaks any English. Um, he's never, ever worked out in his life, and oh, bro, I'm like so thrilled for this dude. I like can't stop smiling every time I see him because I'm like, Haj, bro, you are about to have your mind blown. Just like, please stick with me for at least like 3 months, dude. And like, I can't wait for this guy to be like, damn, this was waiting for me on the other side the whole time. And uh and just I'm sure you maybe have it and I have it some. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have got into, you know, from a holistic, point of view into wellness a little bit sooner. My most of my life has been so performance based, and you're constantly, you know, thinking in that regard that that all comes from stuff that happens in the gym um and it, it's yeah, I wish I would, hindsight's always 2020. I wish I knew even a fraction of what I know now when I was like 16 years old, man, and just so I could have been on that ride for a little bit longer. But then again, it's still, with that comes a story and a testimony, and I believe that there's power in people's testimonies too. So, like, even though it would have been great if Haj got started, freaking 20 years ago, he's still going to have a beautiful story here in a few months once things start to really pick up for him, and I look forward to him getting to yeah to share that, not even for the sake of like my business or anything like that, but just for, because ultimately all I care about, Bryce, is I truly just want people to come to know how good they're meant to feel. I don't care if it's under my roof or the the freaking Planet Fitness down the street. I truly do not care how you get it done and who you get it done with. Like, I just want that that message to take off for people, and like and hear that good news, and to know that like it's never too late, you're never too injured, you're never too sick to like to get started and to start uh, work again. That it's a holistic model. It's not just like, it is not at all just about eating good and training. Like there, you could do that perfectly, but if you're an absolute mess up here or in here, um, there's going to be some harmony issues, and it's like a bad mindset and or a hardened heart can definitely um, keep you from feeling how good you're really meant to feel.
Yeah. Sam, I love the way you said that. About 2 years ago now, um, I brought on a healer into my life. And I think at that time I was really trying to enhance the career and diffuse wellness services and lifestyle and mindset and all the things. And the direction was all wrong. It was all about like more volume, serving more people, impact, da 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 da. And like that's like the traditional mindset of like entrepreneur and whatever the world says is their version of success. And last Tuesday he asked me a question and he was like, what are you focused on right now? What's the vision? And I was like, every single person has a song inside. And whether it's with me or with somebody else, I want them to have the opportunity to educate, motivate, inspire, experience, and be like a sponge to know what they're capable of, and have a microphone to share with the world that song. And it very much relates to what you just said, where it's like I want them to feel how good it feels to work towards something and to consistently put in the work, and then all of a sudden you gain reservoirs of the karma factory of like, I've done this thing consistently, now I look this way, I feel this way, I perform this way, I think this way. That's something that's often a lost thought within the fitness space, is like you think better. It's not just about performance and aesthetics, it's also like your shit's functioning better, man.
Dude, it's like, yeah, that's some good news right there, man. And it's um definitely something I've been on a mission on for quite some time now. It's so funny. I was actually just looking at a picture today. I remember when I first like really got into fitness and training and coaching and all that stuff. I wanted to coach professional athletes. um and and now like I could care less about a professional athlete. Even if I had like a bunch of NFL guys come into my gym and they're like, we want to train here, we want you to be our coach, I'd be like, that's cool. But if you brought me in someone who is overweight, missing a leg, bound to a wheelchair, never set foot in a gym, like that's where I start. I That gets me excited, man. Like I absolutely love that, and it's been a mission of mine for quite some time to share that good news and to let people know that um yeah, you're meant to feel really damn good.
I love that, man. It also just shows that you're more curious now about solving complex problems, not just the marginal 1% boosts of a performance athlete that's very high level and very genetically blessed. It's like reshaping the mentality of somebody who's been through the grinder, maybe not given the best set of cards, and helping them get really good at the blackjack table, and reshaping that level of like hope. And I think it is, like you said, it's a holistic approach. It's not just the X's and O's of program design, but it's like really believing in them and loving on them and giving the famous Sam Dancer, Matthew Bickle hug of like, hey, no. We're heart to heart right now. Like I'm holding you. We're sharing an experience. And even though we don't need to get into the X's and O's of oxytocin and what this really means, like I believe in you, and I believe in your greatest expression, and we're gonna go on a journey that's collaborative together, and it's gonna be fucking dope.
Gosh damn. And if we did, dude, if we believe in ourselves as much as like our loved ones believe in us, we would do absolutely incredible. And it's that's like one of my favorite things in the gym to like I it's a love hate thing. Cuz I'm sure as a coach you've heard it too. Like I can't do that. And like I'm like, "Oh baby, I'm about to show you what's up because you can." And like I that's like a one of my favorite like I gotcha moments right there is like, "Oh, you don't think you can do this? Like I'm about to open your eyes and mind to the world of I can, and I'm about to prove it to you." And yeah, it's kind of maybe not, oh, what's a good word for it? I I I'm like I'm not as excited as I am for them to do the thing as I am to prove them wrong. You know, like I it's probably I'm not the greatest intentions with that, but I love it. I love it. I love it. I love proving people wrong in that particular area of the I can'ts to the I cans. It has very little to do with me actually wanting you to acquire the skill and be able to display it. It's yeah, yeah. Maybe I need to work on.
I love that so much, dude. Going back to where we started our conversation around identity, men specifically, man, there's a famous conversation. Chris Williamson talks about it. Are people or men specifically loved for their function or loved for who they are? And there's a dance there. I think it has a lot to do with environment. I think it has a lot to do with your partner, with your circle of trust, and how you were raised a little bit as to where you receive validation. Is it intrinsic or extrinsic? And so I'm curious, like the highs and lows of performance and identity for you. Because for a long time you mentioned, hey, Sam Dancer, the football player. And then it was Sam Dancer, the trainer or the coach or the business owner. And then it transitioned into Sam Dancer, high performance CrossFit athlete. And now, like we said, you're wearing multiple hats. You're an entrepreneur in many sorts and a lover and server of the world. And I'm just curious how you've navigated performance and identity in relation to love.
Oh gosh, Bryce. Whew. Well, I definitely have. I feel like I have the playbook for identity, and that kind of keeps that kind of gets me out of the way. Um, and like we I've already kind of alluded to this. Like I'm very convicted in my values and my beliefs, and I do believe that I have a gift that I have received. I know that for sure. The other things I might be a little hesitant to come out and say, like, I have a gift that I can see the spirit world. I'm not so sure about that, but I do have certainty in regards to the fact that I have received a gift from the spirit in regards to faith. And so I'm pretty unapologetic about that. And I literally have a playbook within the Word of God to help come up with to help define myself truly, to help come to understand and know what is my identity and what is that in. And it's gotten rid of like all the guesswork for me. It's got rid of like you know all the curiosities, and not that I'm still very much so a curious inquisitive person, but when it comes to trying to figure out who I am, it's already been written. It's just my duty to make sure that I spend enough time in the Word of God, coming to know who He is, and that It's through, it's the actual person of the historical Jesus, that how he was behaviorally, how he was relationally, and just and I will never match that by any means, but at least I have the blueprint for it, and I have all the answers to the test, and so just in regards to the identity part, um that's pretty easy. It's already written. It's just it's just up to me now to you know embody that stuff, and really honestly just get out of my own way. And Identity is a weird thing, man. It really is. Gosh, and I
When I think about
it's so
identity,
funny
it,
to
it
me to
like
think of
grabs
like
hold
how
of
I
the ego. Like I
what's
feel like
that?
identity and ego kind of like grab hold of each other and hold hands. And identity sometimes is just like how the world views you. It's some sort of like perception. And you and I both know that like perception isn't always reality, but in some ways it is. So it's like understanding the context associated with that, but also realizing that like you look at yourself in the mirror when you brush your teeth at night and loving that person and knowing that you are at the very least attempting to live radically like Jesus. That's a pretty cool pursuit, as opposed to like, no, I'm this, and then allowing the ego to infiltrate this perception of how you want the external to view you. I think is it's dangerous.
Mm, yeah, it it is dangerous. It very much so is dangerous. Um, yeah, man, because you could, I already brought up that Enneagram thing, but you can definitely you know, get in the way of yourself, um, with your brains, with your mind, and just and storytelling, whether that have anything to do with like who you are actually in the moment, or who you want to be. It's just, man, I think it's like a gosh damn pinball machine when you try to take your own wheel, and you might just be bouncing around and not have a gosh damn clue as to you know it just kind of, I don't know, shooting in the dark. I'm just, it's kind of like fitness. I holistically, I wish I would have got into it sooner. I wish I would have known sooner. And it's similarly for me with the Word of God, and in regards to my identity, that like there's no guesswork for me. I don't have to like try to come to find out who I am, and chasing different experiences, or 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 whatever, to try to figure that out. I'm so incredibly grateful and thankful um, that I have that, man. I it's it's been priceless. It's been so valuable for me, and I feel like still I'm just like scratching the surface of it, and there's like just so much more for me to come to know, and again, and embody, and 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 be. So um yeah, man, I'm very thankful for, and it is so cool to hear too that, and thank you for sharing that, just like some of your encounters with the Holy Spirit, or your whatever religion, or even just the Bible itself, that me and Matthew even had just like a small impact in um, showcasing that, and directing you towards that, and and because I never want that to be like a forceful thing. I think ultimately, like, everyone needs to have a degree of personal experience and personal relationship in that area, and I never want it. Well, I'll probably always come back to fitness as an analogy, but let's just say someone coming through the door of my gym is akin to someone being interested about the nature of reality and who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? Those types of questions, very broad and generally speaking, and similarly with my values and my belief and what I believe justifies and sanctifies and saves me. I don't want to press that onto people. I just want to, like with fitness, when Haj came through my gym, and this dude's never touched a barbell in his life, or probably even said the word barbell, or even knew what a barbell was. This dude actually might not even know what a barbell is. um, I'm I'm not gonna put that guy under the barbell, like, on day one. I'm not gonna have this guy, you know, doing tons of stuff on day one. That would be absurd as a coach to like break someone off like that. Um, and it's probably a little. I might have a little beef with the way a lot of Christians carry their beliefs with them. Um, or and you see it too in the fitness world. This like these almost like with these charlatans or people that like I'm the only one with the right answer, and if you don't do it like this, then you're a piece of crap and you're wrong, and you're gonna hurt yourself. I Similarly to how I would coach someone, to how I would ever hope to help guide someone into coming to know the nature of reality, in the spiritual sense. Um, I want to do that gently. I want to do that um, through relationship, right? Like, I would never take one of my clients and just hand him, here's the workout today, and just like peace out on them. I would want to, walk with them and guide them and have progression with that. But yeah, it is still cool to hear that, just even little moments of inviting you to church with Matthew and I have been some. I don't. I hate to like answer it for you, say exactly what it is for you, but I'm just glad that I had the pleasure to at least um, to like fitness introduce you to a gym, um, and introduce you to the fitness methodology. This is how we train. This is why we train this way. And yeah, I try not to be too much of a prideful man, but that definitely, um, yeah, I'm proud and honored that I got the opportunity to take you.
No, I'm eternally grateful, and I'll summarize it for you. Your daughter Star doesn't always listen to what you say, but she watches how you and Jenny behave and you act, and then she emulates. And I think what's really interesting is like you said, the charlatans of fitness or religion can be like saying all these things to you, but then as an observer, you're like, okay, how do I feel when I'm around those people? How do they live? How do they interact with other people? Is there a love and a peace and a fulfillment and a decorative beauty in the way they live? Or is it fitting a square peg down a round hole, and it's constantly forced and not really authentic and just kind of like heavy and ugh? And I think that's kind of what it was for me. I had to sit with things. I'm like, wow, like there's a lot of things going really well in the world. I feel like I live with a lot of gratitude, but there's still this emptiness. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, I acknowledge God. I try to do a lot of things based on how I was raised and emulating things, but I was like, whoa, I'm not actually forming a relationship with him. I want to go into his house and learn and then form that relationship and then emulate that so that I can create a space for people if they choose to follow and participate and play. And I think that's what you and Bickle do is like you have this beautiful blend of power and play. And then as a byproduct, it's like amazing. And people want to be a part of it. I mean, look at volleyball. It's like suggestive. Like, hey, we're going to go do this thing. And then the beach is freaking packed with our people. People come out and they're trying to film things. Like it turns into this incredible experience. And the way you guys navigate that is really cool because you're not just saying it, you actually live it.
Free is the way to be. Life beats us up a bit and causes some bumps and bruises, but that doesn't mean we have to stay on the sidelines. This is why we've partnered with Kinyan Labs. Get back to doing what you love with this incredible portable device designed to get you back in the game. Kinyan is on a mission to move people from pain to possible with their top-rated red light therapy and laser solution, which tackles inflammation along with muscle and joint pain quickly and effectively. What I love is that it's portable and rechargeable, making it easy to actually incorporate into my everyday life consistently. It's small and lightweight, so you can throw it in your gym bag or work bag, or even an overnighter. Kinyan's lasers and LED combo make this cutting-edge device extremely versatile for use with general aches and pains, as well as chronic back pain, arthritis, post-surgery recovery, endometriosis, and more. This has been an amazing tool keeping my elbows and knees pain-free for pressing, pulling, and squatting in the gym. Great tools like the Move Plus give me the freedom and flexibility to continue living life on my terms without limitations. There are a lot of reasons why over 15,000 people are using this device and rating it 4.7 stars and above. Head on over to kinyan.io and use code ALLSMITH at checkout to begin your pain-free journey.
Yeah, hell no. Yeah, definitely not. And I love that you bring up, my daughter. Um, it's yeah, they're watching, man, and they will catch you when you are not, you know, walking the walk. And I've been called out. Jenny is called out, and she's called us out and been like, yo, you told me not to do this, yet you're over here doing this. So I'm definitely, I'll be the first to admit that I'm definitely guilty of that at times, but I do make a concerted effort to ensure that I am, practicing what I'm preaching. Back to the gym too. It'd just be like, gosh, how lame would it be to have and it's unfortunate that the church is definitely riddled with this, and gyms may very well be too. But I'm not trying to say that you couldn't be this type of you you could be overweight and be a great coach. You could not be able to do a muscle up and be a great coach. I always bring up CJ Martin, good friend, awesome dude. That guy can't even do 1% of what I'm capable of doing. Like, and you're gonna coach me on a muscle up, CJ? But he was a wonderful, wonderful coach. So I'm not at all saying just because you're not able to walk, and you can just talk the talk, that you should definitely still talk, and you should still do that. But just imagine though, if you did, man, if you're in a gym and this coach is telling you, like, you know you need to stay away from sugar and never ever ever eat sugar, and they're drinking a Mountain Dew every single day. Um, it's just, yeah, it's not a good look, and you definitely, that happens, in the church too. People just want to spout off, what they think they believe, yet they're not. They don't, like, I call them believies. Believies are these things that you just, like, uh, you say and you think, but you don't actually, like, you can't grab it. It doesn't have any, like, yeah, it's not tangible. It's bullshit is what it is. And that, that definitely, that's what honestly turned, or I shouldn't say turned me away, but kept me from ever being really interested in anything spiritual, anything religious. Was just, it was seeing such a large body of people who say this is what they believe in, yet uh, how they're behaving and acting is completely adjacent and opposite to what they're saying. So I mean, there's definitely a good amount of value in regards to the effectiveness of what it is that you're preaching, if you're actually, embodying it. And like you had mentioned, and being a parent has definitely made that even more apparent, um, to me, and to be just a little bit more mindful and conscious. So much of our daily activity is like, just is programmed, just free fall. We build these habits and we get into these routines, and driving is a good one. I'm sure most people can relate to this. Like, everyone kind of has their route to work, and maybe they've been taking that route to work for 20 years, and you don't even think about it. Like, it just happens. Sometimes you just, like, show up in your driveway and you're like, oh my gosh, like, how did I even get here? And I'm sure some people could even relate to this, where, like, you you change where you're working after 10 years, and you always took a right on 10th Street, and then now you actually need to take a left on 10th Street, but yet every time you get to 10th Street, you still just take a right, and you take a right, and you take a right. And a lot of, like, how we uh, how we live is just is on that kind of subconscious, just pre-programmed level. And it's really, 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 really important to take, to take a look at your blind spots, and to take a legitimate look in the mirror, and ask, and ask yourself, like, what is it that I believe, and am I carrying this out? Am I walking this out? Am I displaying it with my actions, and not just with my mouth and my intellect?
No, totally, man. What comes to mind there that I think puts a nice cap on this discussion is there's a difference between quoting scripture and actually living it.
Yeah, no doubt. You could recite that all you want, and that doesn't mean jack.
I also think the execution of that is hugely dependent on environment and the people you choose to spend time with. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, your current environment is bad. It just means sometimes there's subtle change. And going back to what you just alluded to, it's like, dude, I drove to Invictus for almost 12 years. And I still find myself, like, subconsciously driving there just because the studio is now so close to that. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
I don't need to go to this place anymore. Like, that's a beautiful chapter. It's just not in this chapter. And I'm so thankful for that chapter because it led us to connect and led to so many cool doors being opened down the road. But it was time to take that leap, and I'm very thankful that I did. And it's fun and it's scary and it's exciting. And every day I wake up with this beautiful blank canvas of what am I doing and how do we make it awesome for those that are along for the ride. And I've learned that a lot from emulating you and Jenny. And I want to spitball a few things. I'm going to give you roughly 60 to 90 seconds to kind of follow up, but I think you and I will have some fun with this because it's kind of like talking out of breath in between rest intervals, like we know, or kind of chit-chatting on our long sled walks.
that cut out just a little bit. I got sled walks and talking in between rest intervals. But what was the question?
I'm going to give you a quote, and you have 60 to 90 seconds to kind of give your thoughts on that quote.
Okay.
I had to unlearn what being strong meant.
Sorry, gosh, this internet up here. I had to unlearn what?
What being strong meant.
Oh, um, the obvious thing with that is, I was actually just talking about this today in football. Uh, I always talk about how I wish I early on I had a coach that taught me the actual game, like the actual game, like how to play the game. And I was just taught that football is all about just being stronger than that other person, imposing your will on them, and just outworking them um, physically. And no one ever really taught me the intellectual side of the game. So uh, in regards to like that strength, for most of my life, it has had to do with muscles, and it has had to do um with muscles. But uh strength to me is um being able to deny yourself. um Strength to me is being able to deny yourself, and there's more to that, and more that could be elaborated on that. But the easy ones that come up to my mind is just, most of us are very naturally pretty self-centered. We think about how this could affect us, and how that might not work well for us, and rarely do we really, you hear it, put yourself in their shoes. Rarely do we do that. For the most part, so much of what we do is all about me and I. And I think great strength comes in your ability to kind of turn that off and shut that off. Not that it's not an important aspect of being. I think the self is important, and does need to be nurtured, and cared for, and observed, and all that stuff. But um, like developing the ability to put others before you, I think is a wonderful attribute that is, um, I think, defines, yeah, a strong person.
To build on that a little bit, I think you know this guy. It's a mutual friend, I believe. His name's Logan Galbrick. He's the owner of Deuce Gym up in LA.
Yep, yep.
He taught me about the 5 perceptual positions. So there's Bryce looking at Sam. There's Sam looking at Bryce. And then there's there's Sam looking at Bryce through Bryce's lens. And then there's a bird's eye, as if like somebody else is watching us right now.
Yeah.
And then it's as if like you and I are watching a movie, and we're the observers. And I think what's beautiful about what you described, strength, is the ability to have perspective outside of ourselves. And I think that's really cool that you pointed that out, because nobody's going to assume that a man that deadlifted 655 and has done some of the amazing feats that you have has that level of perspective, which is one of the things that makes you so rare, man.
I'm gonna steal that, and definitely utilize that, because I was kind of talking to you earlier. A lot of times, it's for me, the the grace in which I communicate, oftentimes it is simply remedied through just a breath in and a breath out, and that gives me enough time to filter through the initial like shitty response, and get to, like, the necessary one, that's done, done gracefully. And I'm definitely going to take that, and like, maybe it's going to require a few breaths, but still my perspective, that person's perspective, and then even an exterior one of like, how would someone who's not in either of our shoes perceive this entire situation right now? I think, yeah, I think that's going to be a really powerful tool for me um, to administer more effective communication with people. I like that. Logan, yeah, he's a cool dude. He's a wise man.
So wise man, and just like we discussed previously, you originally were the grassroots meat and potatoes. We've talked about strength and conditioning of like our love of push, pull, hinge, squat, carry, something monostructural, mix and match that into some sort of sexy community-based metcon at the end and call it a day. You and I have rinsed and repeated that how many times? But then what happens is you get an elbow injury, you get a knee injury, you get a back injury, and the way you've always done things doesn't work anymore. So now the innovation, you got to go back to the think tank. And I've watched you do that over the years. It's like, dude, you can't load 500 pounds on your back every freaking day anymore. So now it's, can we utilize tempo? Can we utilize a safety bar? Can we utilize a bamboo bar and play with stability and get a little bit creative with how we interject bodybuilding and fatigued states to still keep tissues and muscles strong, still make it fun and not boring, but it's also not the same thing all the time. And that comes from your innovation with the conjugate method.
Yeah, as when you were saying that, that's the first thing that popped into my mind was Louis. And I think one of the coolest things that I kind of learned from him was how to make things harder without making them heavy. Um and yeah, that application has been, yeah, quite fruitful for me. Um because you train for years and years and years. You can only take so much compression and so much percussion and pounding, and but there you still need to chase this degree of intensity to yield results. And a lot of times, the way that we increase intensity would just be slap some more weight on it. And yeah, Louis, rest in peace, Louis. um Learned a lot from that man. And anytime I have a good training principle, it seems to be analogous with life too. So I'm always looking for a way that I can, my comfort zone is definitely, the gym and training and coaching, and um, it's how I kind of try to come to know and understand things outside of the gym, with a lot of the principles and things that I've learned inside of the gym. So yeah, Louis, he was a G.
R.I.P. Louis Simmons. One of my favorite memories that comes to mind in relation to that is like, I'd be coaching on a Saturday and I'd be watching you kind of warm up. I could tell like your knees were a little sticky that day. And then pistols were on the program. And I'd watch how you use different band innovations or an elevated heel or tempo. And it wasn't always like measurement of what you see, Josh Bridges knocking out these like super fast pistols on CrossFit.com or on YouTube. You'd like be very slow and intentional. And it just, I don't know, it reminded me of like form shooting in basketball. Like Steph Curry goes and gets right in front of the rim and does some form shooting. He's not just going 30 feet out right off the bat. And you've never lost the ability to like hit a warm-up set with an empty bar. Really like practice the art of like mechanics. And I don't know, I think a part of that really should be distilled and heard on a podcast like this so people know that like the fundamentals are the fundamentals for a reason, man. And like you can always get cute with digressing them too. Banded pull-ups are not always because you can't do pull-ups. Maybe you're missing lat activation, or you're coming back from an injury, or you're falling into internal rotation and high volume pull-ups and you're not able to find like that break of the bar. I don't know. There's a lot to it that I feel like can be distilled from this conversation today.
Yeah, how wild though too. you I love that you brought up like the banded pull up, um, and relative to the quote of like how to make things harder without making them heavier. You can in some ways increase intensity and theoretically make things harder by making them easier. It's kind of wild right there, because normally you might, like with the banded pull up, all right, you might only be able to do, 10, let's say 10 strict pull ups. And if you put a green band on the rig, it's going to make things significantly easier. But now all of a sudden, you might be able to do 50 strict pull-ups. And then if that's something that you've never done before, even if it's in some ways it's easier, you would most certainly elicit some sort of adaptation to that. So
Hmm. What's cool about that too, Sam, is that like the world likes the measurable, putting things in boxes of like black and white, right or wrong, hard or easier. And you and I both know it's just different. And Dr. Andy Galpin always loves to say, well, it depends. And that leads you down the scientific rabbit hole. But I want to be very respectful of your time. And as we wrap this up, man, I want to touch on your gym, Q Town. And the quote that comes to mind there is, if the brand doesn't reflect your soul, it will burn you out.
mm, um gosh, the I think we kind of touched on this um a little, yeah, a little earlier. Might have been, before we started re-recording. But just kind of the some identity stuff and transitionary stuff. And although I'm still competing, but I'm starting to kind of transition into um, I hate saying like civilian life, but where athletics isn't at like isn't the main priority. And so therefore, a big part of a big part of that transition is the work that we're doing through the non-for-profit work that we're doing with Q-Town Fitness, our for-profit gym, work that we're doing with Strong Coffee. And there's definitely, I'm kind of having to, I enjoy it, and I'm not like, it's not, it's not a crisis by any means. And I don't necessarily feel like I'm like redefining myself, even for that matter. But I'm I'm definitely stepping into a new role here, and we got a lot going on, dude. Burnout is definitely a potential with some of the projects we got going on, and a few things kind of come to mind in regards to um, the avoidance of that. And one of those things is like not overreaching and kind of letting things come to me to a degree. You see that, I guess you see that in sport too, if you overreach too much. And it's tough because you're trying to ride that line. You're trying to essentially stress yourself out as much as you can without getting injured, so that you can have the necessary adaptations that are necessary for you to be able to thrive in the conditions at like the CrossFit Games or something like that. And gosh, with we just bought this building, and it's very expensive, and then we're doing renovations, and those are very expensive. And then we're doing stuff over here, and we're doing stuff over here, and we're doing stuff over here. And burnout is definitely on our mind. Not that we're there right now, but it's definitely something I'm maybe a little overly cautious of. Maybe it's through, I got a beautiful scar on my arm to remind me um, of what happens when the body gets burnt out. Things start snapping, things start breaking and falling apart. And so I feel like I'm maybe a little bit more hyper aware, at least in the area of sport, but it's going to be relatively new for me in the area of like business. And I by no means have all the answers. I'm doing my best to go into it all with a plan. I'm passionate about all this stuff. I'm excited about all this stuff. Um, and I well, just knowing our nature, we'll probably we'll we'll probably run into that wall at some point. But and I'm glad you even brought that up. It's kind of got it at the front of my mind now. So hopefully with some with the help of friends and family, community, and mentors, we can avoid that. But yeah, geez, Louise, who knows? I definitely feel this is my purpose. This is my calling. This is truly what I'm meant to do, and I do feel that it's been like divinely appointed. But in a way, I am a little scared and nervous because I've been an athlete my entire life, dude, my entire life, um, and and you know a yeah, man, an athlete my entire life, and now and sure, there's I've had to do some business stuff with like, it took something to get even Q Town started. It took something to get the non for profit started. Um, but man, I'm getting ready to step into an area where I am not the best. I am not excellent in that. But I definitely plan on taking the things I have learned from, competing professionally to hopefully make this adjustment as smooth as possible. And it's going to be hard, and it's we got our work cut out for us. But gosh damn, I sure hope that I can walk through this door as gracefully as possible. Um,
Truly inspiring, man. And to echo the famous Mark Ripito, if you're not a little bit afraid of the weight on the bar, then it's not heavy enough.
yeah, I'm shitting my pants, bro. I legit. Like it's so weird. It's so weird to have. I'm so excited, but I am so scared at the same time. It's a really weird, you know, polarity to be, uh, to be sitting in between. Jenny and I's like motto for this year um, is is to dance, and it comes from like a little story one time, and I'll try to be as gentle as to tell it to not offend anyone, but I'll just be straight up. She was stoned. Um, she was stoned, and we happen to enjoy a little cannabis from time to time. I feel like we have good respectful use of it. But this one particular time, she maybe took too much, and she's super stoned, and we were at a concert, and she was dancing, and I was like, Jenny, how you doing? And she was dancing, and she goes, I'm freaking out. But she just kept dancing the entire time, and I was like, that's how I want to freak out throughout this entire thing. Like I want to do it as gracefully as possible. I want to dance through it with Jenny, and man, and I could definitely use all the prayers and good vibes sent our way, because we're trying to do excellent things for our community, man. I want to help change the culture of our town, and help people come to realize how fruitful, like the value of holistic well-being, how enriching that is. And just being in the Midwest, it's not a high priority for a lot of people. um and but yeah, like I said, we're going to do some awesome things here in Quincy, and we are up against it, and could definitely use you know thoughtful prayers and messages, and encouragement along the way, because yeah, we're freaking out, but we're trying to dance through it.
Easy, and I love the ideology of dancing through it. Before we get into our last little rapid fire, man, I think it's important for you to know my wife's actually from Illinois.
Really?
Yeah, she grew up in Belleville and actually also played professional soccer.
I'm very familiar with Belleville. One of my roommates, um, Will Ducey, was from Belleville, not too far from here, buddy. So if you come back to hang out with the in-laws, you better, like, if you come that close, like, in Midwest distance, I feel like anything within 5 hours is like really close to us because we're out in the middle of nowhere. I rarely have any friends that come visit me because it's such a pain in the butt to get here, man. So if you step foot in the state of Illinois, you better come see me, Bryce. You got a place to stay, you got home cooked meals, a place to train. Man, you would love to see the Dancer Love Foundation in full force. Like, walking into that gym, it is a madhouse, dude. You know, there's like 50 people in there. It's loud. Athletes are screaming. They're so charged up. I mean, James Foster. Just multiply that times 30. And that's what's happening in that facility. And a lot of them have one-to-one, like a volunteer helping. So there's a ton of bodies in there, man. And you would just be absolutely tickled to get to witness such a sight, bro. So this is basically a threat.
I love
Like,
it.
if you come to the state of Illinois, you better be gosh damn sure you come visit me. I don't care if I need to rent you a vehicle or something like that, or buy your plane ticket. Like,
We'll come see ya. And dude, how's the home setup coming along? You got the float tank, you got the
how's it
sauna,
what?
the home setup with the float tank, with the sauna, with the ice bath. What you got cooking over there as far as your recovery tools?
Yeah, dude, things are things are going great, man. I don't know if you heard, my float tank was just filtering. It was kind of loud and obnoxious, but it's coming along. We still have, gosh, we probably spread ourselves a little too thin sometimes. But for the most part, the interior of our house is what we envisioned, and we love our home. I live right next door to my brother. It's my mom lives with me. My brother's got two kids. I got a kid, so, like, got the grandparents here, the brothers and the sisters and the aunts and the uncles and the cousins, just like this awesome little dancer compound. But we still got quite a bit of work to do. And I think this will be our first, yeah, this will be our first year living, like, in our house. Um, we've mostly we spend at least half the season in San Diego for the past like 10 years. We started renovating this house, like, I don't know, 3 years ago or something like that. And we've never really gotten to stay in it. So it's been fun to plant some roots, and to be in a home and not living out of a suitcase. But yeah, man, we still have quite a bit of work to do. You need money for a lot of these things, you know? Gosh dang. If someone wants to hook me up with a bunch of that stuff, I could get some of my projects done a little quicker. But on that note too, with like the gym and the new building, dude, people have been coming in so clutch. Like, we've applied for a few grants. People are helping support the program, which is huge, dude. I running a non for profit is not easy. Like, getting people to give you money is not easy. Whether you're doing that through fundraising or just grant writing or just straight up asking people. But I think now that we're like actually home and we're actually involved in our community, because we really haven't been over the past 10 years. I think once we start building like real intimate and personal relationships with our community and with our people, and more people start to see what we're doing and what we're attempting to do and create, that will have more people coming in to help support, whether that be in the form of financial support or volunteering. But yeah, I got a lot of work to do here at this house and a lot of work to do at the new building, the wellness tower. And it's scary, but I'm up for the challenge, and I feel like it's definitely this is my calling, and I'm gonna do my gosh damn best to dance through it and walk as gracefully as possible through this process. So
I love it, man. Hey, where can people find out more about the Dancer Love Foundation? And I'd love to put it into the show notes so people can have.
yeah, please, that would be incredible, Bryce. We were gosh, we just hired a business coach, and we just we're getting ready to switch over like operating systems and point of sale systems, and our websites need a lot of work. But if you go online and you Google the Dancer Love Foundation, it'll pop up, dancerlove.org. It's not robust with a ton of information, and I apologize. Like, we definitely need to do a better job at, and I've kind of alluded to this. We're home now. We are here. Like, we are getting our butts to work, and we're going to clean this stuff up and get things firing. But like, if you really want to see like what the Dancer Love Foundation is all about, and to get more information, I think one of the best ways is to witness it. And that would be like on Instagram, Dancer Love Foundation. Like, check us out on Instagram, see the work that we're doing, see the people that are involved. It's incredible stuff, man. Like, we are truly changing the lives of marginalized and forgotten individuals. We are giving them a voice. We are giving them an opportunity. I'm literally watching people come alive, and it's beautiful work, man. But check us out on Instagram, see what we're doing. If you have a heart for any of that, and you want to get involved in any capacity, whether that be just simply writing a check and making a donation. I think on our website we do have like a make donation thing. Or if you happen to be someone like the tri-state area who happens to hear this podcast, and Quincy's not too far from you, come witness in person. Come see it. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3:30. I got like 30 plus athletes that with various mental and physical disabilities that are in there getting after it. We just qualified 3 athletes to the gosh darn CrossFit Games, the adaptive CrossFit Games. Yes, we got Jess, Nolan, and James Foster. They still have to make it through some like formal video reviews, but we had that stuff dialed in. And they will most certainly qualify. But I'm taking 3 adaptive athletes to the freaking adaptive CrossFit Games, dude. Like, that that's awesome. Like, I'm gonna be like, I shouldn't say we are going to be able to give these athletes a tremendous opportunity that, like, I'm not so sure that they, and I don't say that boastfully, like, without me they would never, like, but it's the reality of the matter, man. Like, if you're in a wheelchair, or if you have down, like, the world isn't built for you. And it sucks, dude. It sucks that there's not more programs for people in wheelchairs or with Down syndrome. It sucks that, you know, people don't know how to integrate and act towards individuals like that. And they get forgotten. They straight up get forgotten. And the world does not slow down and turn around and reach a hand out to them. And I am not so sure that they would have otherwise had any opportunity like this. And I don't say that to like pat myself on the back. I say that to maybe hopefully encourage anyone. Um, and I'll be shameless about it. I hope some rich ass person hears this podcast and has an abundance of money that they don't know what to do with, and can write it to the Dancer Love Foundation and let me go to work with it. I do not get paid from the Dancer Love Foundation. I make no money from the Dancer Love Foundation. I've never taken a cent from the Dancer Love Foundation. Every single donation that comes in goes directly to our athletes in our program. We spent $15,000 last year just taking athletes to competitions. Like, just taking athletes to competitions. Like, your money will be put to good use and is going to have a tremendous impact on people that that have very, very little. So yeah, man, we're doing cool stuff. If you want to support, check us out. Witness, come drop in, send us a check, whatever you want to do to help out. Like, every little bit helps, man. Even little $20 checks help out. Like, and we will put that money to good work. I assure you that.
Sure, man. I love the passion and the enthusiasm. And the other thing I want to echo for sure, too, as somebody that's embarked on experiences with you, there's a difference between REEL and REAL. And there's a lot of people that market so well, whether that's social media, website, or whatever it is. And like, you watch on and you're like, man, this person has the thing, they can solve my problem. Like, they look the part, blah, blah, blah. And then you meet them in person and you're like, oh, this isn't the same energy. Like, you just are really good at marketing, or you have some dollars and cents behind. I very much relate to you. Like, my website's not the best. Our podcast, we're always trying to upgrade and evolve. Like, we have audio issues. We're trying to always figure it out. But there's some gosh darn care. There's some real love. And I think that's what you guys are doing with the Dancer Love Foundation. It's only a matter of time, because of the sheer drip of consistency, contribution, and true care that you guys are putting towards these amazing humans that are just trying to navigate a world that's not built for them. Inevitably, it's just going to pay off because of how consistent you guys are.
Yeah, I believe that, man. I believe that. I believe there will be provision. I believe that this is, yeah, all this stuff is gonna work out. I'm just gonna keep showing up and keep doing my absolute best, and I'm sure I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes, but I will most certainly learn from them. And I'm very much looking forward to taking the energy and the time that I was putting into sport and investing it into my community and my people, and I hope that before too long it starts to just trickle out and have a, you know, I got global visions, man. I got global visions. Like, I truly believe that we can change the trajectory of the world. I believe it. I really believe it, man. And we got some great partners and awesome programs and things that we're doing that I think are going to put people in a position to have their heart changed forever. And you've been blessed by it. You've gotten to the opportunity to meet like a James Foster and have an intimate and personal interaction with him. And I don't believe that you'll ever be the same after that. Um, it does. It changes your heart, man. It softens it up and it opens your eyes um, to the world that lives outside of you. And as we talked earlier, a lot of times we get so self-centered and so self-focused that we neglect to ever take a look anywhere else. And when you can start denying yourself and serving others, I think some gosh damn magic. So I'm trying to make some magic happen, man. I'm trying to change hearts and share good news with people.
I love it, man. Two final questions. What's one exercise that you think everybody should be doing?
One thing that everyone should be doing.
Yep.
Gosh, I wish I had some, beautiful and poetic thing to share, but and we brought this up a little bit earlier, but the fundamentals, man, do the fundamentals, do them. I love this word, virtuosity, doing the common things uncommonly well, and I think that gives you like excellent and uncommon results, and some of those things for me, they sound simple. I wish I had something super fun to give you, but drink water, eat real food, get 8 hours of sleep. Like, as someone who's basically like been a freaking human race car for the better part of my life, I can attest to the effectiveness of those things, um, and how well they work, and how well they just like uh, make you more robust and make you more capable, and you don't have to be perfect at it. I think it's definitely worth the pursuit of perfecting it. But if you're drinking a freaking Coca-Cola every day, like, maybe try to swap that sucker out for some water or something like that, or whatever. I think you get it. But just do the common things uncommonly well, and if those things aren't common to you, start to integrate them slowly and progressively into your lifestyle, and you will get to reap the tremendous benefits and stability of those things. If anything else, what's your second question?
Real quickly, before I give you the second question, our good friend Dave Lipson, when I had him on the show, he said, compliance is science, baby. Applying the simple things uncommonly well will lead to optimal results. So I definitely echo what you're saying. And the second question, man, what's one lesson you want to teach your daughter?
One lesson I want to teach my daughter. Star baby. Star baby. Um uh, this should go without too much elaboration, um based off of our previous discussion, but um her identity. Her identity. I um I hope that I can help lead her and guide her to come to know who she is, how she was made, why she's here, and where she's going. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I love it, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Dancer.
I'm gonna go coach some classes. Bryce, I love you. If you come to Illinois, you better come see me. Congratulations on getting married. Um, I think that's one of the greatest gifts, is a partnership, like that. So it definitely, it'll have its ebbs and it'll have its flows. There'll definitely be challenging moments, but just continue to pour yourself out to that wonderful woman, and serve her, and um, I'm so happy for you, man, and I love you dearly, and I look forward to the next time I get to see your actual physical face, and I can give you a big hug.
Love you too, my man. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed my conversation with Sam Dancer, please rate, review, subscribe, and as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Till next time.